What about all the other champions in that division? You got Scott Quigg, Carl Frampton, Guillermo Rigondeaux.
I'm gonna get the opportunity, boy. You working your ass off, don't you?
Hey, that's what we do. That's what we do.
DONTAE'S Boxing Nation. I see it, baby. Y'all the man.
That's what it is.
I love what you're doing for boxing.
Thank you, man.
Don't stop. Keep on going strong. Keep on going hard. A lot of big fights coming this year. A lot of big fights.
DONTAE'S Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So following Terence Crawford's very dominant performance over the former undefeated champion Victor Postol this past weekend, let's just say it did not take that long for the hypocrites to start to pour in and criticize Terence Crawford. And even Terence Crawford is noticing the double standards and the hypocrisy when it comes to him defeating Victor Postol. Matter of fact, this is what Terence Crawford had to say on his Twitter account. Quote, "I find it real funny that when a fighter loses a fight, the same people that said he was a beast calls him a bum afterwards. How's that?" End quote. Very good rhetorical question, Terence Crawford. And the answer to your question is, welcome to the coincidental list. You know, guys, I tell you all the time, when it comes to the coincidental list, it's the same scenario, just a different date and a different name on that coincidental list. I mean, I called this a long time ago. For those of you guys who've been following my channel, you have heard me say it, and that's the great thing about YouTube, is everything you say is documented. I don't delete videos, so you can always go back and hear what I said a year ago. And about a year ago, I was telling you guys that once Floyd Mayweather retires, it's going to be Andre Ward, Errol Spence, and then Terence Crawford that are going to be on that coincidental list. And as advertised on my channel, that is exactly what you guys see today. Let's go ahead and rewind a little bit before this Crawford-Postol fight was even agreed upon. Do you guys remember before this contract was signed for this fight? Do you remember what the fans were saying back then? I'll tell you what they were saying. They were saying the same things they said before Floyd Mayweather signed the contract to fight Manny Pacquiao. They were saying the same things they said before Andre Ward agreed to fight Sergey Kovalev. They were saying the exact same things that they were saying before Deontay Wilder agreed to sign the contract to fight against Alexander Povetkin, which is Terence Crawford is afraid of Victor Postol. Terence Crawford is ducking Victor Postol. I still have the messages on my older videos, you know, before the fight was agreed upon. All these people saying the exact same thing. Terence Crawford needs to fight against Victor Postol. If he doesn't fight Victor Postol next, etc., he's cherry picking. He's overrated. He hasn't fought anyone. And the list just goes on and on and on. Fast forward present day. Now and all of a sudden, those same fans who said that Victor Postol was the boogeyman and Terence Crawford was afraid, now and all of a sudden they're all singing a whole new tune. And now they're saying that Victor Postol, he wasn't really that good, he was overrated, he was a hype job, etc. You see this happen to fighters on the coincidental list all the time. You know, when it comes to being on that coincidental list, you always have to do 10 times more than the fighter that is on the hope list. Because see, when you're on that hope list, you have that hope insurance and you're covered. You're pre-approved. So you don't have to do any extra things to get covered, okay? And if you don't believe me when I tell you guys you have to do more when you're on the coincidental list, I'll prove it to you right now. Now, I didn't read the article, but I read the headline. And the headline reads, it's by Nigel Collins a writer who's been writing for the longest. He's a veteran when it comes to boxing writing. He writes an article and he headlines it, "Crawford has to do more to become a superstar." You see what I'm talking about? When you're on a coincidental list, you have to do 5 to 10 times more than anyone else to be on the coincidental list. Now, this is so funny to me because here you have a writer saying Terence Crawford has to do more to become a superstar. But did you guys notice that when Terence Crawford was knocking out Thomas Delarme, when he was knocking out Hank Lundy, when he was knocking out Yuriorkis Gamboa, a fighter that was undefeated and had the potential to be pound for pound one of the best fighters in the world, when Terence Crawford knocked him out, it was silence from these type of writers and other decafs in the media. But soon as Terence Crawford fights against the undefeated Victor Postal, the guy that he was supposed to be afraid of, knocks him down twice, dominates him, even goes toe-to-toe with him and backs up the aggressor, clowns him, has the crowd super hyped throughout the entire fight from round 1 to round 12. Despite all of that, Terence Crawford, he has to do more to become a superstar. We know what time it is. We know what time it is. So in other words, you're saying that if Terence Crawford would have knocked out Victor Postal in the second round or something like that, then all of a sudden this would propel him into superstar status? Please. We know damn well how things work when you're on a coincidental list. When you're on the coincidental list, everything is the contrary. The more successful you are, the more backlash you receive when you're on a coincidental list. See, what doesn't make sense is you have Terence Crawford who just dominated an undefeated champion in his division. Now, obviously, when critics like Nigel Collins and other people in the boxing world, when they criticize someone like Crawford for not knocking out Victor Postal, they're most likely comparing Terence Crawford to fighters like Canelo Alvarez and Gennady Golovkin. But realistically, if you look at who Canelo, it was a welterweight. A welterweight that was known for having a suspect chin. So not only are you facing a smaller guy, but you're facing a smaller guy with known chin issues. Okay? Now, when Canelo Alvarez stepped up in competition, he did not get knockouts. When he fought against Lara, when he fought against Austin Trout, hell, even when he fought against an older Shane Mosley, there were no knockouts. Those weren't impressive performances. So how is Canelo Alvarez a superstar? Because once again, this is who they're comparing Terence Crawford to. Okay? Gennady Golovkin. Let's look at who Golovkin is knocking out. Golovkin is knocking out Adama. He's knocking out Wade, Monroe, Rubio, Lemieux. So are you guys telling me that if Terence Crawford were to basically recede and say, you know what? Let me start facing or let me start knocking out easier competition, fighters that I know I can knock out. Because once again, when Terence Crawford was knocking out Thomas Delarme, Hank Lundy, why wasn't he getting the same reception that Golovkin gets when he knocks out Dominic Wade, Adama, Monroe, etc., etc.? You guys see how the double standards work? It doesn't make a difference. So for you to say that Terence Crawford, he has to do more, what you're really trying to convey is the same thing that I'm saying, which is Terence Crawford has to do much more than Canelo Alvarez, Gennady Golovkin, and everyone else to possibly become a superstar. But the truth of the matter is there is a difference from being a superstar and being the fans' favorite. What Golovkin and Canelo are right now is they are the fans' favorite. They are the fighters that are on the hope list. They are the fighters that the fans actually like. Terence Crawford is on the coincidental list. He's one of the fighters that naturally they root against. So there's a difference between being a superstar and just being a fan favorite. Canelo and Golovkin, they are just fan favorites. They're not even superstars. Okay? Because a superstar is someone who generates serious pay-per-view numbers. A superstar is a boxer that can be recognized by someone who doesn't even watch boxing, right? That, you know, that person who doesn't watch boxing, but he knows who Floyd Mayweather, Mike Tyson, and Oscar De La Hoya is. That is what you call a superstar. That is not Gennady Golovkin. That is not Canelo Alvarez. That's not Terence Crawford, right? So what this writer basically said didn't really make a whole lot of sense. What he really meant to say is, if you want us to like you like we like Canelo and Golovkin, then buddy, you're going to have to do 5 times more than what Canelo and Golovkin does, and then we'll think about it. That's what he was really trying to say. Because we already have fighters that are on the coincidental list that are getting sensational knockouts. I didn't hear any of these guys like Nigel Collins or any other writers say that Errol Spence or Deontay Wilder is on the verge of being a superstar in the sport of boxing, despite them getting vicious knockouts back to back to back, right? Because we know what time it is. Terence Crawford is definitely on the verge of being a superstar. But he's not going to be a superstar trying to perform the way these writers say they want him to perform. Terence Crawford is going to become a superstar for the same reasons Floyd Mayweather became a superstar. You know, what Floyd Mayweather accomplished, he wasn't supposed to accomplish. What Floyd Mayweather did, he basically defied all of the odds. If you go back 10 years ago, when Jim Lampley and Larry Merchant were calling all of Floyd Mayweather's fights, Larry Merchant, he was shitting all over Floyd Mayweather. Every time Floyd had a great performance, Larry would say, okay, it was a great performance, but look at the seats. The seats are empty. He'll never be a star, etc., etc. And then when he filled up seats, then Larry would say, oh, well, the performance wasn't that great. He always has something to say. 10 years later, Floyd Mayweather is the biggest name in all of sports, right? Now, I'm not trying to say that that's going to be Terence Crawford. It ain't easy to duplicate Floyd Mayweather's success. But what I am saying is the key to being the biggest draw or one of the biggest draws in the sport of boxing is to continue to win and continue to beat the guys that the decavs are in love with. Beat the fighters that are on the hope list. That's how you become a superstar in the sport of boxing. That's how Floyd Mayweather became a star. Because of that combination, he continued to win and he beat the fighters that were on the hope list. So at the end of the day, when writers say these fighters on a coincidental list, they have to do more, you ain't telling us nothing that we don't already know. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one.
Hi, you're watching Dante's Boxing Nation. Woo!